What's up? This is Tom from Twins Daily. Last video, kind of did a rallying cry for the fan base, the Twins fan base, to let's all pick ourselves up, realize that things could be a lot worse. Things could also be better, basically, is what we're going to talk about today. Yes, the Twins had the fourth best record in Major League Baseball this past season, behind only the Dodgers, Rays, and Padres. This is still a team kind of on the upswing even, too. The farm system ranked 12th in MLB Pipeline's most recent rankings on September 1st. That's a little bit stepped back from where they've been ranked previously, but still in the upper half of the league. I feel like when you're one of the best teams in terms of record and you're in the upper half in terms of a farm system rank, you're in a really good situation as an organization. However, this is not the time to take a step back. And one of the things that's kind of inspiring this is the early talk of the offseason and speculation on payrolls, and not just the Twins payrolls, but payrolls across baseball, likely sort of being scaled back. And I want to point out that there's this great tool out there Matthew Taylor of Twins Daily created that you can, I'll put a link down in the description where you can play around with the payroll. And one of the things on that, he kind of collaborated with John Bonus, also of Twins Daily, on that. And you can put in whatever you want on that spreadsheet, just to be clear. There's not any kind of limitations, but sort of the way that it's situated is the target is to scale back the Twins' payroll by 10%. That's sort of the expectation that's being set by that. And I got to say, I would be pretty disappointed if that's how things went down this offseason. It just doesn't make sense at this point in the team's competitive cycle. When was the last time you felt that you could feel this good about a Twins team? Certainly one of the last times was 2006. And really the great failure of that era of Twins baseball was not pushing things forward. They had Morneau, Mauer, Santana, Hunter, a bunch of other guys during these eras, and they just didn't supplement the rest of the roster. They didn't fill out the edges enough to push that team forward. In 2006, the Twins won 96 games, and they had to have known there was at least a decent chance in 2007 that was going to be Johan Santana and Torrey Hunter's last years with the Twins, and yet they didn't really do anything to boost up the rest of the roster to really make a really hard push that year. Yes, Francisco Liriano was out for the year. Yes, Brad Radke retired before that season, so they were definitely faced with some challenges right out of the gate, obstacles you got to get by, but they tried to replace those guys with Ramon Ortiz and Sidney Ponson. Not to a really big surprise, they fell off from 96 wins to having a losing record in 2007. And that was sort of the end of that group's run, and it's just so sad that they fizzled out like that. So I would really hate to see this happen in 2021 to sort of this group of the Twins. If there's a 10% payroll reduction, Josh Donaldson's contract is bad. And I think that's really the only way his contract is really going to look really bad, is if it handcuffs the organization into filling out the rest of the roster again. You have to keep going, even if this pushes the ownership past their comfort zone. In the not-too-distant future, you're going to have a bunch of guys in your starting lineup, in your rotation, in your bullpen making the minimum. So hopefully things kind of cycle back to where you have a lot of younger, cheaper players that are getting playing time. This is just a year where you're going to kind of have to eat it, in my opinion. Yes, there's financial instability across the league. I think that makes this time, it might be the best time ever to be aggressive in the free agent market, if that's how things are going to play out. You may have some guys available at prices that seem crazy compared to previous years. You mess with Byron Buxton's service time to get him cheaper and keep him under team control. Make all these decisions worthwhile is what I'd like to see. And what if the Twins cut payroll by 10% and the White Sox increase theirs by 10%? Or Cleveland keeps Lindor and finds a bunch of gems, like they always do on their pitching staff. You may have just closed your window there. Winning the division isn't even a foregone conclusion next year. This doesn't seem like a good time to take a step back with those things going on. Yet it seems to be the belief that since the Yankees are expected to cut payroll, which that story's been out there, that every team in baseball will, because the Yankees, they're one of the big money teams. But keep in mind, they're starting out at a very high level in the first place. They have a high payroll. Also, to my understanding, I don't know how accurate this is, but I believe I've heard that the Steinbrenner family is a little bit more invested in baseball as opposed to other operations. Like a lot of MLB owners have investments all over the place. They have many different areas that they're making money from. It's not just all within baseball, whereas that family has a lot of their income is tied to baseball, which, I mean, the Yankees are worth like a couple $1 billion, so I can't feel too bad for them. And yeah, there's money in the game still. There's money in the game. Yes, the state of things, the instability, COVID did, knock out the gate revenue, of course, and maybe has impacted some of these other investments that these team owners have. But remember, they only had to pay the players their prorated salaries of 60 games. So, payroll was way down, if you think of it that way. The amount of TV money is insane in baseball right now. Insane. And every MLB owner got something like $50 million when MLB sold BAMTech, MLB Advanced Media, a couple years ago. Just here's $50 million bucks. So there is definitely money in the game. I just wanted to get that out there. A lot of people, who maybe thought that last video I had was overly positive, I still feel that way, that we should be thankful that we're watching a team that's in a competitive cycle that's been very good. But I will be very frustrated if that cycle ends and it's tied mainly to decisions by ownership or front office or whatever. Like, the window's open. Like, let's keep going at this. Let's keep this going, because we know as Twins fans there's probably going to be a long period where they're not competitive eventually. It's just the way that this franchise has worked since they've moved to Minnesota. I'm not going to be the guy leading the angry mob with my pitchfork and torch if payroll is scaled back, but I'm also not going to be defending ownership or deflecting criticism. I don't necessarily think COVID is a free pass. I think it's in some ways going to be used as a convenient excuse. And like I said, I think these teams are still making plenty of money. And any MLB owner who at any point feels that owning their team is a financial burden, they can cash out for like $1 billion at any point. They can just sell their team, take away a cool $1 billion whenever they want, and have somebody else's take over that problem for them. So, I'm not going to be having a pity party for MLB owners who are, having a hard time paying these salaries. Cash out if you want to. It's that easy. Sell your team. If you don't want to pay to play, sell your team.